Hello. Let's talk about dips in motivation. I noticed this morning, I was like, that fire I had a couple of weeks ago with the videos, this video diary, it's not quite there this week, or in the last, 10 days or so. Been a little more erratic in my uploads. It hasn't been on my mind so much. I actually forgot to do a video diary yesterday and then a couple of days. And I thought, why? How does this work? How do I look at these little projects that you get so excited about sort of falling off track? I think there's a thing inherent in motivation when you start something new that happens a few weeks in. For me at least, it's usually like 3 weeks in. The motivation starts to go. It starts becoming normal and you're like, yeah. The time I noticed this most presciently was in dry January always. I always find for the first week, 2 weeks, I'm like, yeah, gunning it, like this is amazing. I'm doing the right thing, like boom, 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 I'm going to keep doing it. And about 3 weeks in, like it kind of normalizes and you're like, yeah, I could just not. And often these things just kind of fade away and you kind of forget about them. And we always have this, right, as humans, like we look back at months past and we're like, oh yeah, I went through that phase where I was getting into X and then I just kind of stopped. For example, I can point to like a million different things like this in the last year I've done. I mean, recently, so like doing Qigong every time after I go to the gym in the shower. There was a period where I did a little lying down, like Alexander technique, like lying down semi-supine work for a bit of work as like a break or just before I'd meditate. There was a period where I would read a page of Dogen every time for a bit before lunch. All these things that you kind of do for a while and then you kind of sort of forget about and you're like, oh shit. But I think there's something to be said for picking yourself back up and noticing when that motivation starts to fade and being like, do I want to persist with this or not? For me, I kind of feel like the dip is your first like kind of test. You're like, your motivation's dipped a bit. Shall I push on? I think the mark of an impressive person is someone who, when you have that dip, you notice it and you carry on. Provided, of course, that carrying on is worthwhile, that the thing you're doing is actually worth it. But I think that to really explore something, to really figure out if it's worth it, you need to take it through that first dip. You need to get out on the other side. That usually means doing it every day for like a month. Yeah, I feel like when you've done it every day for a month, and you've pretty much habitualized it. I know that there are studies saying various different things about how long it takes to make a habit, but for me, once you're past that dip and you've come out the other side, that's a real point where you've really started to explore this thing. So how do I use this for myself? I think coming back from Ethiopia, I had this real surge of motivation. I was like, I'm going to do the video diary every day. I'm going to do fasting 2 days a week, etc. And this week, the motivation for that Oh yeah, I'm not going to have any stimulants as well. This week the motivation for that has waned somewhat. Yeah, so this week there were 2 days. My fast days, I actually just traded them for low-calorie days. Because my fast days last week, I got too hungry and then I ended up overeating. And it was, didn't help. So I'm taking a week off this week. But when I think about it, I was like, I committed to doing this for the period of Lent. There's something valuable in carrying out a commitment, to really seeing what it's like. So with that in mind, let's make sure. Let's do these 2 proper fast days. We're eating fast. I mean, I've done the fasting in terms of phone and spending, but the eating thing, let's try it again next week. And stimulants, no, I have actually kept that. It's been good. No, gardening was another one I got into, which I seem to have lost. Well, I mean, to be fair, the garden looks pretty good now. But anyway, I think this dip thing is something which affects people in business when you're going with new projects. This is in some ways why it can be useful to do things in groups. You kind of push each other through the hard times, so you don't just give up at the first sign of whatever. Yeah, and having some kind of accountability mechanism there. Yeah. I think that's what I want to do in the future with myself. I think of myself, using myself as a kind of experiment and publicizing myself as a self-experiment. So it's like, when I know that the world can be watching me at any moment, I'm publicizing to myself. So that, like, it kind of makes me be like, okay, no, I'm not just going to pussyfoot around and just give up, you know? Yeah, that's where we're moving. Cool. So, with that in mind, plow on. It feels good.